Well, hi everyone. I hope you saw a glimpse of this camera collection that I've been building up over the years. When you are locked down in the pandemic crisis, you start to review the situation. And I've had a lot of cameras for a long time. Some I've bought, some have just been handed to me. When people know you do photography, they tend to gravitate towards you, and you inherit cameras from lots of families over the years. So what I'm going to progressively try and do now is to actually talk about some of these cameras. I've already done that with a couple of videos, and or two or three, and I have sold stuff online before, but with all this whole collection here, I'm going to go through and review it now and work out what I want to keep and what I want to sell. And so I'm going to do some videos just giving a taste of what's in this collection, and when the pandemic's finished I'll possibly put a lot of them up for sale, and then maybe from the proceeds I can buy some up-to-date digital equipment and do a bit more professional of a job with my YouTubing and blogging and all that sort of thing. So today I thought I'd just share with you this camera system, the SLR camera system that I started off with. And basically I started doing weddings with this system. It was the first SLR system I had, and it was the Pentax Spotmatic. And this is the SP1000 version of it, which is has a top shutter speed of 1,000th of a second. And it's basically the same as the Spotmatic 2, which this was my backup camera, and it's basically the same as the Spotmatic 2, except that it doesn't have a hot shoe on here, but in all other intents and purposes it's pretty much the same camera. So that's the Spotmatic 1000. So that's just got a standard lens on it. That one's a 55mm f2 lens on there. So I did a lot of photography with just the standard lens, but over the years I acquired a few more things. Look at this. This is a magnificent zoom. It's an 85 to 210 zoom lens. These are all screw mount lenses, the old M42 I think they are, and this is on the Spotmatic 2. So this is a marvellous lens, and it's just this one's almost in mint condition. Very smooth operation. Focusing. It's got a lens hood that comes with it, and it's f4.5 is the maximum. The maximum aperture. f22 is the smallest aperture. I'll just take that lens off and put a smaller one on. Of course, when you start off, the basic kit for an SLR system back in those days was to have a standard lens and a portrait lens, which would have been this one here, which is the a 135 lens. These are all Pentax screw mount lenses. So that was a Pentax, and you can get an adapter of course to put all these on a Pentax K-mount camera. So that's a beautiful little lens as well. That's the 35mm, so you'd use this one for your portraits. Where are you? Up there somewhere. You don't have a split image viewfinder in these. You have a little circle in the middle with a spot in the middle, which is a bit meshy, but then when it comes clear, that's when you're in focus. So that was the 135, and then of course you needed a wide angle lens. So this one here was a 35mm one, a f3.5 maximum aperture. Beautiful, precision made. These lenses are beautiful metal lenses, and they're beautifully made, and they're as good now as when they were first made, in my opinion. That was a 35mm. Of course, if you wanted to extend your lenses, you had these little teleconverter things, and you can still get teleconverters for all your digital cameras and your film cameras these days. That was just a 2x converter. It wasn't a Pentax one, but it did the job. It was made in Japan. Just a little converter, and that with that 135 lens on, with this on, that then becomes a 270mm lens. So, and also with the big zoom you can extend that quite a bit as well. I didn't put my hands on it this time around, but I do also have a 200mm lens that goes on these cameras as well. Now also, close-up rings. You can have these little close-up rings. Once again, this wasn't a Pentax brand, but they're designed to go on the Pentax cameras, the M42 system. And you've got an 11mm, 20mm and 30mm. So you just put them, depending on how many you want, how much close you want to get to use for close-up photography. So they were good. Lens hoods are always pretty useful. A lot of the Pentax 35mm and 50mm lenses have a 49mm thread, which is what this little rubber lens hood does. That's your little Pentax adapter. Means that you can put that on the camera, and you can put all of your 35mm screw mount cameras on your Pentax K-mount cameras and vice versa with these little rings, little adapters. And then the backup one, which was the poor man's Pentax back in those days, was the Praktica, which also takes the same thread mount, and it also, all these lenses that you've been seeing here fit on this camera. This is a very basic camera, the Praktica MTL3, and a nice chunky solid metal camera. Still works fine, this one, and that was a backup to the backup, if you like. So there you go. That's a little bit of an introduction to the Pentax Spotmatic system, the old M42 system, and over the weeks I'll come back and share some of these other cameras and talk about some of the other systems that I've got here. I've got a lot of Pentax cameras. I've got Nikon, I've got some Agfa cameras, 35mm rangefinders, the whole gamut of cameras. So watch this space. I'll put this up on YouTube and on my blogs, and when I do end up advertising all these cameras, I'm taking photos of them progressively at the moment, and I'll be putting them. I have a blog called the Trading Post blog, and I'll be posting up photos there in anticipation of when I release them for sale. So if you want to have a look at what's in this collection, as I take these photos, I'll be putting on that with a proviso that these are looking for expressions of interest and they're not necessarily for sale yet, but they may be soon. So watch that space. That's my Jeff Thompson's Trading Post blog, but I'll put all the links in this video on that. So once again, thanks for watching, and I better turn this off, and I always forget where I put the little gadget that does this. So here we go.